They've rained down American thunder, delivered American justice, and they have fiercely defended every square inch of American sovereignty. In their steel frames, broad wings, and roaring engines, we see the story of America's daring defiance, its soaring spirit, and undying resolve. Throughout our history, our country has been tested and tried, but we have always fought to victory. Whenever our way of life has been threatened, our ancestors have responded with the same resounding answer as those first patriots who fought for independence. We are Americans, and we never back down, we never give in, and we never give up, and we will never yield defense of our nation. We love our nation. We will only fight to win. Today, we thank God for the gift of life and for the blessing of liberty. We honor the legends of our history, the glories of our founding fathers, and the giants of the past, the heroes of today, who keep us safe, who keep us strong and proud, and who keep us free.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and Q is laying it all out for us, explaining exactly in detail how they are deceiving us and how they are continuing to use the fake news to try to win this battle against our republic, to bring it down and replace it with their communist, socialist dictatorship. So we're going to talk about how that affects you and what the fake news won't cover. So stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know I like to say thank you if you've hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't done it, please consider coming here, clicking the big red subscribe button, then hitting that bell and selecting all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. It helps channel out a lot and it doesn't cost you anything, so I really appreciate when you guys do that if you haven't done it already. Also, don't forget to stick around at the end. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today we're going to be looking in the book of 2 Timothy to discuss not being ashamed of the gospel and what that really means. And I hope you guys stick around for that message because it's a very important one, and I hope you guys stick around to hear it. But with that, we're going to go over and look at the Q boards. Yes, we have brand new Q posts. We're going to get into them. We haven't heard from Q for about 15 days since July 2nd. Today is July 17th, of course, 17 being the operative number there, relating obviously back to Q being the 17th letter of the alphabet. But we have a bunch of Q posts to go through, and Q basically gives us a rundown of, you know, what's happening today, and you guys see it for yourselves, but we're going to talk about some of the stories that Q's highlighting, put it all together, wrap it up, and then we're going to talk about some other big stories that the fake news won't cover, including how Q was 100% right about it being biblical and what that actually means. We're going to look at all of that, but before we get into that, just a quick reminder, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. If you guys haven't downloaded it yet, you don't know what you're missing. It's a great product that is also free. And when you use the link in the description to download it, you're going to get an amazing product for free, and you're going to help support this channel. So what is Brave Browser? It's an internet browser that is actually much better than any other internet browser that you're using today. Better than Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whatever you're using. And it blocks the ads. It gives you a bunch of other built-in features, including a private Tor browser in case you're a little more advanced, and a bunch of other functionality that I think you guys will really enjoy. I use this product. That's why I want you guys to check it out. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, use the link in the description so they know I sent you, and download it today and run it. And I guarantee you're going to really enjoy this product. So go check it out. It's free, so you really have nothing to lose. Okay, so let's get into the latest Q posts. Here we are starting with Q. We left off at Q post 4580. We're picking up at 4581. We have a lot to cover here today. We're going to get through these. Then we're going to get through the bigger stories that I really want to cover in detail. And I hope you guys stick around for it all. Now, the first thing that Q gives us here is this link, and it gives us a link to this Judiciary Committee releasing declassified documents that substantially undercut the Steele dossier, Page FISA warrants. So this is something we've already known, but more confirmation from the Senate Judiciary Committee telling us that everything that we have been speculating on, and everything that we have been uncovering is 100% true when it comes to the illegal coup that was launched criminally by the Hussein administration. And we're going to hold them accountable because they violated the law, and they did it with a criminal intention of enacting a coup against a sitting president. So just let that sink in. I'm going to read some of this article because it's worth going through. It's pretty short here. It says, today, as part of the Senate Judiciary Committee's ongoing investigation of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and related FISA abuses, Chairman Lindsey Graham released 2 recently declassified documents that significantly undercut the reliability of the Steele dossier and the accuracy and reliability of many of the factual assertions in the Carter Page FISA applications. Quote, I'm very pleased the investigation in the Senate Judiciary Committee has been able to secure the declassification of these important documents, said Chairman Graham. Quote, I want to thank Attorney General Barr for releasing these documents and allowing the American people to judge for themselves. Quote, what have we learned from the release of these 2 documents by the Department of Justice? Number 1, it is clear to me that the memo regarding the FBI interview of the primary subsource in January 2017 should have required the system to stop and reevaluate the case against Mr. Page. Most importantly, after this interview of the subsource and the subsequent memo detailing the contents of the interview, it was a miscarriage of justice for the FBI and the Department of Justice to continue to seek a FISA warrant against Carter Page in April and June of 2017. The dossier was a critical document to justify a FISA warrant against Mr. Page, and this DOJ memo clearly indicates that the reliability of the dossier was completely destroyed after the interview with the primary subsource in January of 2017. Those who knew or should have known of this development and continued to pursue a FISA warrant against Mr. Page anyway are in deep legal jeopardy. Secondly, the comments of Peter Strzok regarding the February 14th New York Times article are devastating in that they are an admission that there was no reliable evidence that anyone from the Trump campaign was working with Russian intelligence agencies in any form. The statements by Mr. Strzok question the entire premise of the FBI's investigation of the Trump campaign and make it even more outrageous that the Mueller team continued this investigation for almost 2.5 years. Moreover, the statements by Strzok raise troubling questions as to whether the FBI was impermissibly unmasking and analyzing intelligence gathered on U.S. persons. These documents, which I have long sought, tell a damning story for anyone who's interested in trying to find the truth behind the corrupt nature of the FBI's investigation of the Trump campaign in 2016 and beyond. It says the first document is a 57-page summary of a 3-day interview the FBI conducted with Christopher Steele's so-called primary subsource in January of 2017. It says here, this document not only demonstrates how unsubstantiated and unreliable the Steele dossier was, it shows that the FBI was on notice of the dossier's credibility problems and sought 2 more FISA application renewals after gaining this awareness. The document reveals that the primary source of Steele's election reporting was not some well-connected current or former Russian official, but a non-Russian based contract employee of Christopher Steele's firm. Moreover, it demonstrates that the information that Steele's primary source provided him was second and third-hand information and rumor at best. Think about that. They launched a coup against the president based on a rumor, and they've been lying to the American people for years, and they expect you to just not do anything and just ignore it or forget it. This is insanity. Critically, the document shows that Steele's primary subsource disagreed with and was surprised by how information he gave Steele was then conveyed by Steele in the Steele dossier. For instance, the primary subsource did not recall or did not know where some of the information attributed to him or his sources came from, so they just made stuff up out of thin air, was never told about or never mentioned to Steele certain information attributed to him or his sources. He said that Steele recharacterized some of his information to make it more substantiated and less attenuated than it really was, that he would have described his sources differently, and that Steele implied direct access to information where the access to information was indirect. In total, this document demonstrates that information from the Steele dossier, which played a central and essential role in the FISA warrants on Carter Page, should never have been presented to the FISA court. Well, that pretty much sums it up. The second document contains Peter Strzok's typewritten comments disagreeing with assertions made in a New York Times article about alleged Russian intelligence ties to the Trump campaign. The document demonstrates that Peter Strzok and others in the FBI leadership positions must have been aware of the issues with the Steele dossier that the FBI's interview with Steele's primary subsource revealed, because Strzok commented that recent interviews and investigation, however, reveal Steele may not be in a position to judge the reliability of his subsource network. The document further shows that the FBI's assertions to the FISA court that the FBI believes the Russia efforts to influence U.S. policy were likely being coordinated between the RIS, Russian intelligence services, and Page, and possibly others, appears to be a misrepresentation. So they just flat out lied. This is because in his comments to the Times article, Strzok asserts that we have not seen any evidence of individuals affiliated with the Trump team in contact with intelligence officials. We are unaware of any Trump advisors engaging in conversations with Russian intelligence officials. The document also indicates that the FBI may have been using foreign intelligence gathering techniques to impermissibly unmask and analyze existing and future intelligence collection regarding U.S. persons associated with the Trump campaign. Both the CIA and NSA are aware of our subjects, and throughout the summer we provided them names and selectors for queries of their holdings as well as prospective collection. The quote does not provide enough information to fully understand exactly what the FBI was doing, but impermissible unmasking and analysis of existing and future incidental intelligence collection of U.S. persons would be troubling. The document also raises questions as to whether the FBI was properly using intelligence techniques and databases throughout the summer, considering that the earliest formal investigation of a U.S. person associated with the Trump campaign was not officially open until July 31st, 2016. So think about this. And then they give more declassified documents here at this link, and I'll leave a link to this if you want to read more. Listen, this is the smoking gun. This is the proof positive that they launched a coup illegally. They criminally violated the law to try to bring down a sitting president with completely fabricated and fake information. Now, we've already established this, right? But this in and of itself should be on the front page of every newspaper in the country. Yet, all you hear are the lies, and we're going to talk about what that is. And then the next post that Q gives us is this Washington Post article talking about FBI Crossfire Hurricane Unit watched Trump the day he took oath of office. So this talks about how Peter Strzok was emailing these angry complaints inside his own agency, right, about President Trump and how he needs to be briefed on everything President Trump knows so that he could keep going further with his fake, phony, false witch hunt, hoax, coup investigation, right? This is criminal. These people should be in prison. They should be in federal prison for 50 years at minimum after they, obviously go through a jury and a trial. But look, these people are criminals and nobody wants to talk about it. You don't hear this on CNN or MSNBC. You don't even hear it on Fox half the time. I mean, this is sick that our country is being run by people, or has been run by people, who are such criminal liars that they now are just seemingly going to get away with it because the media is complicit in covering up their crimes. And we, the people, are demanding justice, but they're entrenched across the entire government and all the bureaucracies, and they pulled out every stop they can to try to keep us from having justice. But we will have justice. And you see what's happening in our country, riots and this virus hoax, whatever it is. It's insanity, okay? Right? So please, we'll talk about the virus more here as we get into the next few Q posts. I'll leave links to these if you want to read through them as well. Here's a tweet that Q wants us to look at from Emerald Robinson, where she says sources inside Trump administration confirmed to her that the CDC has been misreporting the data for coronavirus to inflate the numbers. Think about that. A source in the White House, President Trump, who I trust. I don't trust the fake news. I don't trust Dr. Fauci. I don't trust I trust the President of the United States. And if they want to attack me for that, then come at me, bro. But I'll tell you right now, if sources inside the administration, and Q's pointing us to us, which we know is military intelligence directly connected to people around Trump, very close, and President Trump himself, look, they are telling us that they were involved in inflating the numbers. Oh, really? And now you're going to tell me that we have to wear face masks and I have to be under house arrest and you have to put people out of business and shut down their stores and their restaurants? It is all a planned attack against our republic by the same criminals who launched the coup on President Trump. And we need to call it out for what it is. It says, what would be the primary purpose of inflating C19 numbers? Who benefits the most? Pro-America versus anti-America? Infiltration, all assets deployed, election, not virus, Q. It's exactly what I'm saying. The same criminals who launched a coup against our president, who lied repeatedly over and over to further their criminal agenda, are now involved in lying and furthering another criminal agenda against the American people by taking away our rights, our civil liberties, and our constitutional rights with this fake, phony, ridiculous, overinflated hoax that they're trying to use to steal the 2020 election to get this mail-in voting. So people, we have to wake up. We have to share this. We have to sound the alarm against these people. That's really what it comes down to. The next post Q wants us to look at is this Andrew Bostom tweet talking about real data, again, comparing seasonal flu deaths in Texas in 2017 to 2018 and 2018 to 2019 to COVID-19 deaths in 2020. Well, here you go. Oh, isn't that interesting? 3,000 compared to the 10,000 and 11,000. So even if that number comes up close to that number, look, you guys see it just as well as I do. They are trying to take this and blow it up and make it the reason that they can get the mail-in ballots so that all the governments will send the ballots out in the mail, which then can magically be, basically forged by foreign entities like China and or stolen by corrupt criminals. I mean, if these people are willing to go pull down statues and beat people, they're punching the police chief of the NYPD in the face. You don't think they're going to steal the ballots and fake them and then throw them and then try to throw the whole election? Look at what they do when you go to a Trump rally. Look at how they block the entrances. Look at what they did at the rally in South Dakota at Mount Rushmore, where they literally parked vans across a road to block people from getting to an event, which, by the way, is probably one of the worst crimes you can commit, especially in a small town like that. What if somebody had a medical emergency? What if an ambulance needed to get in? What if you were being robbed and the police had to come help you? And they're blocking the road. See, these people are criminals. And if you think they're going to stop at just, doing the violent vigil or the Antifa, which is basically fascist violence in the streets, you're wrong. They're going to try to steal this by any means necessary. And they're going to keep lying to you. And they're going to keep trying to censor people who call them out for their lies. This is where we're at. Q says CDC C19 data actually lower than reported. Why did select Democrat governors mandate nursing home C19 positive insert? Election, not virus, win by any means necessary, Q. Again, we need to hold the Democrat governors responsible for mandating the nursing homes take COVID-19 positive patients because they knew the people who were most vulnerable to this actual virus, which it is a real virus, ultimately it is a coronavirus, were the elderly who had weakened immune systems, whose immune systems overcompensated and ended up killing them in the process of trying to fight off this coronavirus. So think about that, as we go forward, that this is real and it's happening and we have to stand up against it, which means you have to call your senator, you have to call your representative, you have to get involved with your local government. Go tell your mayor what you think. Go tell your city council what you think. Tell them to stop being such spineless cowards and stand up and do something. That's what you need to do. The next one here is this New York Times article Q points us to, saying the CDC labs, now again, this is from April of 2020, but it talked about how the CDC labs were contaminated and delaying coronavirus testing was a part of the process here for their contamination. You read through this article and you quickly realize that the CDC, in my opinion, may have had some of these same people, the same type of people who are out in the streets, beating people over the head, blocking streets, burning down police precincts, committing random acts of violence and hate crimes against people for their color of their skin or their political affiliation. Those same people may have worked in this organization, purposely contaminated this testing to slow it down. And then Q gives us the explanation here saying, how do you provide cover for invalid positive test results? Think PAPA. Now remember, Q gave us the article about it was an African country where they sent, the president was really suspicious about the COVID numbers because everything was coming up positive. So he tested a pawpaw, a piece of fruit, and it came back positive with coronavirus. So think about that. A piece of fruit had coronavirus. So I guess we all have, as the whole world has coronavirus. You could just throw some dirt in a cup and they'd be like, yep, coronavirus. Swamp runs deep. The news is fake. The war is real. Q. That's right. Unfortunately, it's true. The next post here, Q gives us this link to the Fox News article talking about Florida labs not reporting negative test results. Report says, remember, I think we talked about this on the show the other day, right? This was from the report. We actually covered this 2 days ago. It says countless labs have reported a 100% positivity rate, which means every single person tested was positive. Oh, interesting. But it actually turns out that here's where it gets interesting. Fox News said it investigated the numbers by contacting every local location listed in the report. Orlando Health confirmed to Fox News that the 98% figure, right, because they said they had a 98% positivity rate, was actually more like 9.4%. Oh, but the fake news runs with the 98% all day long and tells you how you need to be afraid and you need to submit to these criminals. The same criminals who tried to run a coup against our president. The same criminals who sold us out to the communist Chinese who are attacking us via all types of cyber attacks and bioweapon attacks. These people hate our country and want to destroy it. They love communism. And we're going to talk about that in a second here. But Q's post to finish up here says, how important is Florida regarding the 2020 election? One lab equals possible human error. Countless labs equals deliberate, coordinated. Largest coordinated disinformation campaign ever to be pushed by controlled entities. Who benefits the most? Q. These people want to destroy this country. They want to make you a veritable slave in your home, and they want to rule you like the communist authoritarians in China literally run a dictatorship over their population. That's what they want for this country, and they want you to shut up and not ask questions, which is why you need to get loud as you can get right now and make your voice heard and make them start standing up for us. And when I say them, I mean the corrupt criminal politicians and corrupt criminal bureaucrats and corrupt criminals all across the world who have orchestrated this massive attack on our constitutional republic. Of course, we got a brand new Q post as we were talking there. This next Q post, want to talk about it real quick before we get going with, and then we'll cover another story. But Q wants us to look at this post, right? Now, this is from Alexander Bauman, and it talks about safety standards and core rules for Washington State conveniently end the day after the election. Is this about a virus or the election? Who benefits the most? No debates. Can Biden debate? And we all know the answer to that. But here you go. Conveniently enough, that everything, all the emergency rules that they put into effect starting on the 8th of July just happened to end the day after the election. These people are trying to criminally steal this election. They are criminals willing to do anything to get out of another 4 years of President Trump because they know it's going to result in their annihilation. And when I say annihilation, I mean legally and lawfully. The criminals will be held accountable for the crimes they have committed. So let's see what Q has to say. Q says, C19 narrative kill date election plus day +1. Prepare for 0 day. Massive cyber power attacks attempts on 11/4 Q. Wow. Can you imagine? They're going to try to pull off some massive cyber attacks and probably try to hit our power grid on the election day because they're that criminal. That's how criminal these people are. They are going to wage war against us, and we need to prepare ourselves for what is coming. So please be prepared. A few other things I want to point out here. Breitbart article, Joe Biden quotes Mao Zedong. Whatever. It's all good. Just quoting Mao Zedong. Senior advisor called Mao her favorite political philosopher. Now, this is very true. And my friend Mary Fanning and Alan Jones over at the AmericanReport.org did a great piece on this. I want to recommend you guys go watch this, but you can see here they have the full video clip of her, literally the person here, Anita Dunn, who's the senior strategic advisor to Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign, saying that China's chairman Mao Zedong is her favorite political philosopher. Yeah, no, I'm not. You can't make this stuff up. These people want to turn the United States into a communist, you-know-what hole. And we have to stand up against it. So I'll leave links to this if you want to read about it. And I really encourage you to go check it out. But one of the things that was uncovered in this reporting here, which is fascinating, is I'm going to play this clip real quick where you remember when they found Christmas ornaments hung in the White House on the official White House tree of Chairman Mao? Yeah, that happened. No kidding.
And finally, some interesting ornaments have been spotted on the White House Christmas tree in the Blue Room. The website biggovernment.com posted some pictures of the ornaments it says are featured on this year's tree. They include the communist leader Mao, drag queen, celebrity queen Hedda Lettuce, who boasts on her website about her ornament being featured in the White House, and Mount Rushmore with a familiar face added. The First Lady's office says local community groups were asked to decorate hundreds of ornaments, but that they are unaware of these specific decorations.
Yeah, I believe that about as much as I believe most of the Hussein administration were a bunch of treasonous traitors to this nation. So it's just, it baffles me how we've come to this point where you have a president literally hanging, ornaments on Christmas trees in the White House with Mao Zedong on them, and you have Joe Biden talking about how quoting Mao Zedong to the people. Like, this is beyond some sort of dystopian nightmare. We're going into the realm of full-on communism. So this is something that you should look into. It ties all the way back to Bohai Harvest, which is where Hunter Biden got his $1.5 billion. So if you want to watch all of these videos and read through this article, I really encourage you guys to do it. There's a lot of information here that's worth understanding and putting together. Once you start connecting the dots on these people, it's so easy to see through their fraud and deception. So the point is, you should go check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description below this video, and I really would encourage you to check that out. Now, there you go. That's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things before we go. Remember to come here, hit the subscribe button, and then also don't forget, watch these videos, share them, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say. You can also find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou, and you can find me over on Twitter at informed_news. Plus, you can find me now on Parler at JustInformedTalk, and I have the official website for Just Informed Talk, justinformednews.com. You should come check it out. Links to everything, great stuff over there, so go check that out. And the backup channel for this channel, which is over on BITCHUTE.com/justinformedtalk, is the page, so you can go check that out as well. Also, if you want to make a contribution to this channel, help keep the channel running, you can come over here and find me on Patreon. It's a crowdfunding website, a monthly donation. Your support keeps this channel alive, so thank you to everybody who does contribute. And I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description below. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater, which I talked about earlier, and today we're going to look at the book of 2 Timothy, and we're going to read a very powerful set of verses here, talking about not being ashamed of the gospel. And I want to share this with you. It's chapter 1, verse 7 through 12. It says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fearfulness, but one of power, love, and sound judgment. So don't be ashamed of the testimony about our Lord, or of me, his prisoner. Instead, share in suffering for the gospel, relying on the power of God, who has saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given to us in Christ Jesus before time began. This has now been made evident through the appearing of our Savior Christ Jesus, who has abolished death and has brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. For this gospel I was appointed a herald, apostle, and teacher, and that is why I suffered these things. But I am not ashamed, because I know whom I have believed, and am persuaded that he is able to guard what has been entrusted to me until that day." Now, we are all tasked to go out and fulfill our ministry and spread the gospel. And that's my message to you. Do not be ashamed of the gospel. Wear it proudly. Go out into the world and share with others your love of Christ so that they can find Jesus in their hearts. That's how we have to do this, because we're not given a spirit of fearfulness. We're given a spirit of power, love, and sound judgment. And we just have to connect with that. So that's my message to each and every one of you. Remember that God has saved us and now is calling us to do his work in the world. So please go out, share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people you meet in the street. Tell them about the glory of God and tell them about their eternal salvation that was bought and paid for by the sacrifice made on the cross. and you are going to see that the blessings that God gives you will only continue to multiply. And even if you have to go through some hardships, which we will have to go through in these times, which only seem to get worse by the day, that is only going to make your reward that much greater. So please remember that all of the suffering and hardship that we go through is a part of the process, and we can never be ashamed of the gospel that we trust in and that we put our faith in. And that is how we overcome the evil. That's how we defeat it. That's how we win, because no matter what happens on this world, we know what happens in the next life because we have put our faith in God and Christ above. So that's my message to you. Take that, share that. That's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and hit it, punch it, tap it, hit that like button if you guys haven't already. If you guys want to see me make more content and you guys like what I'm doing. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.